Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Cray and I'm chatting with director Robbie Walsh, whose lovely film, The Letters, is about three very different women suffering the consequences of the Cervical Check scandal. So this is your third feature. You have done Split and Eden. So again, they're very different films and very different themes. But we'll stick with The Letters for the moment. Sorry, I'll kind of go back and see how they influence it in a little while. But tell me a little bit about what was your inspiration, because you wrote it. I presume then you have to get a great, an unbelievable cast, some of Ireland's top performers there, very different backgrounds together to shoot. How did it all come together? Script first and then production.
So you brought up Eden. Eden was my first film, but it went into cinemas second. And Eden is about the homeless situation. You know, when that film was going into cinemas, leading up to its cinema release, it was doing it, obviously, the festival circuit, and little drips of news were starting to hit about what was happening to the women affected by the cervical cancer scandal. And the more it was sort of in your peripheral, or just kind of that noise in the background, and because I don't watch much news, but you would hear just more and more. And then the more I start hearing about it, and the more I start looking into it, and I've said this a bunch of times already in interviews, I became shocked, but I was more scared because the kind of gravity of it really hit me. No, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody out there right now. Like, I'm not saying people, these people are horrible. It's what happened then, and it's the effects, the knock-on effects of what's happening now.
It's more about the personal stories, really, than it is about the scandal itself, and it's more about the impact, which is a beautiful way to do it. But I think as a woman, as an Irish woman, as someone living in this state, it was just awful. So it's nice to see someone tackling it, because I think there's an awful lot of politics where people are afraid to take things on.
Yeah.
But sorry for interrupting.
No,
so
not at all.
Definitely, it was an earworm for you and really affecting you, because it's
It kept creeping in and kept kind of jumping into my face. And I remember there was a minute where my sister had walked into the sitting room with my niece, and I was watching something on the news about it. And my sister just started talking. I can't even remember. She was just talking randomly. And then that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh my God, what if she just walked in and said, this happened, or that happened? And then the more I was thinking about it, I had an image in my mind of it's a beautiful shot at the end of the film, the bathtub shot. I don't want to give too much away. I call it The Death of Venus, but it's based on the painting The Death of Ophelia. And I knew I was just going to have to construct the entire film around the ending to show that the death of life itself is the death of beauty, of the caregiver, of the person that gives life. And I just was constructing it around that. And the more I read into what was happening, the stories, the different information that was coming out, I was I became more and more terrified, because now you just don't know. Nobody knows whether they're really affected by something now or not. Like, how do I not know? I've been told I'm super healthy, and then next week I'm going to be called in and went, sorry about that. Get your affairs in order.
I think it's just such a historic problem in Ireland. It's because it's a women's problem. It's seen as a women's issue. I think for a long time it probably was thought that there was a certain amount that you could get away with as an institution as well, which is so frustrating. But you do, you kind of tackle the systemic issues in some ways through one of your characters, because one of them is a survivor of a mother and baby home. Well, two of them.
That's Kathleen and Anne, Kathleen Warner Yates and Anne Russell, who play Mary and Bridget, who so Kathleen, when we are putting Kathleen in the film, when I was putting Kathleen in the film, she's my old acting coach, and I was trying to figure out a way how to utilize her American accent and our talent first, and then her American accent. So I'd sat and mulled over it for weeks before I approached her. And I just rang her and I said, Kathleen, can I meet you? I want to have a chat with you. And she's like, oh, hi, Robbie. I haven't seen you in such a long time. And I said, look, I'm putting a film together. And here's what the character is about that I would like you to play. And I explained to her that, you know, here's what's going to happen to you. And your big problem is that you have a mum who has Alzheimer's, and her American accent's going to be explained because you've been taken from her when she was a little girl, and now you've come back to find her, and you've spent some years together, and now she's developed a very aggressive and progressive type of Alzheimer's and dementia. We don't really tip on what exactly it is, you know. Then you find out that you're going to pass away before her, and the dilemma of what am I going to do? Who's going to look after her? Because we address another thing, which was the mistreatment of a lot of elderly people in homes. And we done that with just a simple shot of a laptop. And that there's Kathleen, how am I going to get someone to look after my mum, looking up this care home thing and then realizing maybe I can't leave her because maybe they're going to mistreat her like they did when she was a kid. Maybe they're not. And then ultimately we see what happens then with that story, you know.
And actually, touching on all the stories, you have Mary Murray as well, plays the struggling mum in a lot of debt, which is very timely. And then another character that I particularly think is very interesting is you have a character, a high-functioning autistic woman, which is great because you don't see neurodiversity represented through women ever. So it's lovely to see it like on screen as well, because I was kind of like at the very beginning I was wondering, I was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting kind of choice. And then I was like, okay, she's autistic. That's, again, it's nice to see it being represented like that. Like, she's very high functioning. She's a kind of strong, independent woman. What kind of drew you to that storyline?
I think it's when I thought back to when I was young in school, and even growing up, as I was growing up through life with the different jobs I had, there was always people like that, people who would be kind of always standoffish or socially awkward, or just there was always something where you would go, why is this person so awkward around me? Have I done something to offend them, or have I, and you would find out years later it was what we would now call the spectrum. It was just the elements of the spectrum that you'd see somebody that would be constantly fixing things, and if you moved their pen on their desk, they would move it back and just try and keep it there, and would instantly kind of become withdrawn and go into themselves. And there's far more of that, and we've witnessed far more of that. I mean, I'm sure I'm probably just a little bit older than you were, so we would have been coming up on the same, like, kind of doe-eyed almost, what's wrong with that person, or why is this person so standoffish? Just so I can't be around that person. When in reality, we're only learning about these kind of things that affect people in just everyday life.
And sure, women are 4 times less likely to be diagnosed with autism, and it was thought for years that women weren't autistic, but it's just more so that all the studies were done in men, and men present differently. So women are, like, I would say if you actually did the stats and objectively looked at the population, it would be 50-50.
Yeah.
But the fact is that women are much better at masking social cues and masking social interactions, so they don't present quite the same way as men do. So I just thought seeing this, like, it was just really, really good to see, because again, I think even in mainstream television, we're presented with the male version of autism, which is very, very different to the lived experience. And it's the same with all neurodiversity, like depression, ADHD, anything, or any neurological disorder of any kind presents very differently in women. So I liked that to watch it. I thought it was a very interesting choice and very refreshing.
It's really nice to hear you say that. I mean, there's elements of the film is essentially, it's essentially a Rorschach test in that people are going to identify with certain traits or certain characters and how they behave because they're kind of seeing that in them. I love Cliona's story. I absolutely love Cliona's story. I love Sarah Carroll in the film. I think she's so poised and does everything with it by doing nothing, you know. She can just sit and look at a clock and the camera won't leave her, you know. It's hard to cut scenes like that when you have someone so brilliant. And it's not to take away from Mary Murray. I mean, Mary Murray's performance is a roller coaster of a performance, you know. And the same with Anne. Anne is so poised. Oh, sorry, Kathleen is so poised and dignified in how she went about the performance. It was really, really, really inspiring to sit and watch them, you know.
So tell me again about writing this script. So would you, as an actor yourself, what would your sort of method be? Would you sit down with the actors and workshop them? Would you kind of lock yourself away in a room, get the script together, and then bring people on board? Like, what's your process there?
Yeah, so the script, when I write a script, what I do is I kind of base everything around whatever. If I have a scene for a character that I think is going to be very powerful, I'll start there. And that could be at the end, it could be at the middle, and I'll start building around that, what I think is going to be the most powerful scene for that character. So with Kathleen and Anne, there's a shower scene, and then of course the end scene, and I needed to build around them. So what I do is I write a script, but it's more of a blueprint. And what I love to do then is sit down with the actors and say, here's the scene I think I want to do. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know how you would go through this and what you're comfortable and not comfortable with. And I mean, how far do you want to go or not go? And myself and Kathleen had talks, and Anne Russell had talks at length with this. And Anne and Kathleen knew each other so well because they worked together that they were completely comfortable and going away, and they would ring me and say, listen, Kathleen Yates would ring me and say, I'm thinking about doing this and I'm thinking about saying this. And I would just say, Kathleen, do it. Do it. I'm going to video it. I'm going to film it. And if it's great, the camera will stay on you. If it's not, the camera won't. And we'll edit it out. So that was it. And it was the same with Sarah Carroll. The story with Sarah in the bath was actually meant to be Sarah walking out. So we wanted her kind of jogging and, you know, doing sit-ups in our apartment. But then it on the day we were like, this doesn't make sense. You know, it didn't make sense. So I came up with it. I found a location with this beautiful bath. And I was like, right, here's what your character does. It's the ultimate ritual for someone to like that, to try and calm their mind and just try and forget about the day or reflect on the day. And that was that. So yeah, we workshop and then improv through a constructed improv script, I think is the best way to put it.
Brilliant. I didn't know easy feat for you saying that as well. So just with regards to the budget, putting this together, but I always think it's a real testament when people work and like what they can achieve when people work together and like the creative talent involved and kind of, I actually think that's a massive feat. So if possible to talk about that would be amazing.
Oh, what was that word? Budget?
Yeah.
Was what? What's that? What does that mean? A budget? Oh, we had very little. Anything we did have, we were able to look after the actors and the people on set. I drank a lot of protein shakes. But how I got around the problem of the budget was I saved some money because I knew I would shoot each story over 3 days. So I treated each story as a short film. So I would get enough money to make one short film. I would shoot it for 3 days, and then I have that footage. So when I shoot, say, all of Kathleen and Anne's footage, that's it. I don't need to go and revisit that in 2 weeks and do continuity on it, because I know I'm going to be editing and cutting and slicing it in and out of the film. So then I save a bit of money and borrow some money or ask for a loan or do a little fundraiser. And then the next time, maybe 2-3 weeks down the line, I get the next story together and I shoot, say, Sarah Carroll's scene. And then I save whatever money I can. And a few weeks later, I shoot Mary Murray and the kids. And each was a 3-day block, and we would be spread out so we could get some money together and borrow it and do the odd little fundraiser here or there, you know. Brilliant. Like when we would go down at a certain time to the supermarket in Lidl, because we knew the sliced bread would be kind of half price for the next morning. So we'd be like, okay, we got to get down to Lidl or Aldi or Dunn's, because the bread that was 70 cents now 50 cents, so you can get more of it. So little things like that, you know.
Yeah. And when was it shot? When did you shoot it?
We got most of it in the can. I think it was literally, we got most of it in the can maybe 2 weeks before lockdown.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because I was just wondering with COVID and everything like that. And then, you know, you've kind of like a range of actors that, like, it is, they're quite, again, the podded stories naturally. So you wouldn't, you know, have like 1,000 people in a shot, which is probably easier, but still, that's...
Yeah, I mean, there was an element of it where I was asked, "Do you want to? We can make this a pandemic thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't really want to do that. You know, there's enough going on in the film." We did shoot the opening sequence though. There was a small window during lockdown where you could travel beyond 5K or 10K or whatever it was at the time, and people could, a certain amount of people could go into a big enough space. So we got a huge stage, and we had one ballerina, we had the cameraman and myself, and then we had, like, way over to the side of this auditorium was a stills photographer. And I think the person who owned the place was standing way up the back. So we were literally all standing there, like, essentially in bloody hazmat suits to shoot the opening sequence, which I loved. I loved the opening sequence. So we got that during the lockdown when we had the tiniest little window to get it, you know.
Now distribution is kicking in. You have a cinema release at the moment. It's hitting swords now. When where can people watch it now going forward? So
since last night, and now today, it's in Movies at Swords, Movies at Dundrum, Odeon Charlestown, Omni-PLex Rathmines, Omni-PLex Cork, Omni-PLex Limerick, and the Eyes Cinema in Galway.
Brilliant.
For now.
Great. That's some good. That's some good kind of lovely spots, comfy spots for people to catch it as well, and all around the country, which is brilliant. And what's it been like watching it with people?
Well, anyone who's watched, I've only watched it, and I was at the premiere of it. And then the next one I went to watch it in my local cinema last night with some people. But anyone who hasn't watched it and sits down and watches it, it's a strange one, like, because people get upset, but more than anything, they get angry, and they instantly start trying to discuss the film with me. What did that mean? And then you touched on this, and then you touched on that, and I love listening to it, because it's nice that when people walk away, their eyes become a little bit more open, and they're starting to discuss it, starting to dissect the film and what it was about, and who it affected and how it affected. And I see them looking up on their phones, going, "Oh my God, look at this," you know. Whereas for me, it's just a personal, almost a voyeuristic piece, you know.
So again, this is your third feature film now. So you had Eden in cinemas, then you had Split.
Yeah.
Just what have you learned from each? Because I mean, it's difficult. Like, it's difficult to shoot a short, let alone shoot feature, without shit tons of cash. So just, yeah, and again, like, even getting them seen is difficult. And you've had cinema releases, you've had distribution, which is in itself just, like, very impressive, because again, it's a tough slog, like getting people involved. So what would you kind of have learned from each feature?
So with Split was just a real thing. Split was a kind of a real social commentary on how easily accepted violence has become in Dublin and on the streets. And it's a mockumentary about two hitmen. But everyone who watched it at first thought it was just this stupid, goofy comedy. But now when they go back and watch it, they realize it's has far more underlying meanings than anything else. I mean, we're addressing the PC thing of I'm offended by language. Well, a guy with a gun who doesn't care about the law, doesn't really care how offended you are. I think you need to be more offended by the knife or the gun that's sitting there looking at you, or whatever's being pushed onto kids. But anyway, I won't get into that. So what I learned from that was it was a very marketable film, and like it's a dark comedy, but we didn't have the marketing behind it. I didn't know how to go about actually marketing a film, and I didn't know who to reach out to. No, that was my first cinema release, but it was my second film. So with Eden, after Split had gone in, I was asked, "Do you have anything else we could show?" And I said, "Well, actually, I have this beautiful film about homelessness, and I've been really trying to get something out there for the charities." So we reached out to Dublin Sign Community and we put it in there, and we get the box office to Sign Community. And that ended up getting press. Now, I don't mean to say, oh, I used it to get press. That wasn't my point there. It was just, I learned that you have to talk to people in a way that they want to be interested in going to watch a film.
And the whole point of creating a film is to share experiences and thoughts and ideas in a narrative format.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of it is in some way to get seen. So there's no harm if getting press helps it to get seen by someone, and then it might, again, like you said, open their eyes a little bit or change their thought process a little bit. Like I know it, like I kind of think it's funny because it's the author versus the business, and there is a sort of need for both.
Yeah,
you know? You do have to sell it in some ways, but then to get people to see it, to get people touched by the emotional arc of a character that they mightn't necessarily have thought that they would identify with. So no, you're dead right. Like,
Yeah, I mean that was putting it in cinemas. That was a big thing. I knew that when I was coming to this one, I was like, right, we have to get eyes on the film, and we have, nobody would bat an eyelid when, the big Batman movie gets thrown in their face, and it's okay. I'm a big fan of those type of movies. People don't understand that, like, these type of films, these socially conscious type of films that make no money, have to be made and have to be put out into to keep these subject matters fresh in the conscious of the public. So other than that, they're just going to disappear away. I mean, if you showed someone Aaron Brockovich, they'll go, "Oh my God, I'm shocked that happened. I can't believe I want to watch Aaron Brockovich." So you have to say, well, you got to go and watch these socially relevant artistic films as well. I mean, you have to watch Shane Meadows movies. You have to watch Ben Wheatley or Ken. I mean, you have to watch Ken Loach, and they're far more attuned to people to try and wake them up from what's actually going on around them at times. Making films from a technical standpoint, from my first one, I learned get good sound. We had a problem with Eden trying to get the sound to match up, and then with Split, I learned, okay, how can I save money on my budget that I don't have, and not get boom shots and get away with people looking down the camera. Whereas if someone looks down the camera on a great take, the take's gone, can't use it, So I was like, okay, we can make a mockumentary, and how do we, what mockumentary hasn't been done that we haven't seen yet? So, okay, Hitman. Of course, Man Bites Dog is about a serial killer. It's very, very dark. And I said, well, I love that movie, and I want to kind of do my own version because the Irish version always has its own little unique stamp on it. So that's when Split came about. I learned I had to just do something that I'm going to be able to get away with boom shots and mic shots and straight down the barrel and people tripping up or whatever accidental thing will happen. It's dark comedy that's a mockumentary, so you can get away with it, which was brilliant to shoot. It was so much fun. But then I realized when I was making the letters, I had to be far more on my game, and I really wanted to make something very special with it.
It's a tougher sell to get people to watch drama than like a comedy. People, I think, will automatically just go, sure, I'll sit down and watch this. But it's sort of like you'll always get people go, I'm not in the mood of watching something that's challenging, or something that's particularly tough. So you kind of have like a double issue to face there. But again, like you've some amazing performers in there and some incredible talent. So obviously that's a good network of incredible performers that you have that are willing to come in and work for Aldi sandwiches.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. I think I was lucky in that the actors and the everyone involved had watched Eden and Split and are like that would be avid film fans and would love Ken Loach and Ben Wheatley or Fellini, Godard. And I'm not putting myself on a pedestal with those guys, but I think they wanted to create their own version of that type of film. So they knew they could get that if they walked on and helped me with mine, because I'm going to give people the freedom to be as creative as they want to be in the film,
Thank you so much for chatting with us, and we can't wait to see your film. So is there a website or a social media presence that we can follow?
You can follow the Letters Facebook page, or you can go onto IMDb and check us out there and give us a bit of a star rating, or you can just follow me on Twitter or any of the cast members on Twitter or Facebook.
Perfect. So keep an eye out for it. It's in cinemas now, but if you happen to miss it, I'm sure it will get its VOD release very soon. Follow on social media, and thank you so much again for chatting with us.